And we are live. Thank you, everybody, for watching another episode of Dan-A-Plooza. My guest is a very, very talented one. She is part of the burlesque world, so let's give a virtual round of applause for Luscious D. Also, if you are in the area next weekend on July 29th in the Pittsburgh, PA area, check out the event. Take It Off Improv Burlesque Battle. That is the event that you are wanting to see if you are a fan of burlesque in the PA area. So make sure, check it out, and be there. Let's
Be
just
there,
see.
be
Thank
square.
you. Be square. Thank you for being on the show.
Yeah, thanks so much for having me. I'm looking forward to our chat.
Glad you are. That's the plug segment. Eventually, I want to update it and maybe have like a plug run by and say something like plug segment. Like we get all the stuff that I plug. But so, um, so I remember reading your bio. You wear many hats within the burlesque world. Um, is that something that you have always wanted to do and that you could see yourself doing, or did an experience happen and that's what led you?
Yeah, sure. So, I've been a performer on and off since I was in kindergarten. I
Oh,
actually took
wow.
this, yeah. So I took the stage for the first time at my kindergarten graduation. And I went to a small private Catholic elementary school. So the
Yeah.
first introduction to performing was kindergarten graduation. I sang Au Clair de la Lune in French. I was 5, you know? So, yeah. And then, I just started doing a lot of theater and stuff like that as I was growing up. And then when I was about, I think, 15, we went to see, sorry, we went to see Cabaret and Gypsy. And I was like, oh my gosh, like I just fell in love with the kind of like campy, body positive people on stage. And then in 2011, I was going through pre-divorce. I didn't get divorced until 2013, but I got introduced to the burlesque world when I was still doing theater. And then when my divorce got finalized in 2013, I started performing, and it's been 10 years this year since I started performing. And then I started producing shows in 2016, and really it's been such a amazing experience. I can't tell you how much it's impacted my life for the better.
Wow. It seems like you were kind of in a rut at a time, and then like when that rut was over, it was kind of like a doorway was open for you being the burlesque world. Um, and it's also interesting because like you said you got your performance in elementary school. That's with my background, that's where I started as well, is elementary school. um I was in third grade when I sang my first song. Di- Disney Akuna Matata, and I did all the
Nice.
character voices. So um now, when you said that you had done theater, were you more of a musical person or straight theater?
I did both. I did a lot of just, I did a lot of public speaking. Like I did Model UN, I did radio in college, I did all that stuff. And then I did musical theater. I did high school and college. My singing voice is okay. I wouldn't say like I'm a stellar singer. I'm a more of a character actress than anything else. But what happened to me was it kind of like led me to pivot to doing burlesque eventually. I got in a car accident the summer before my senior year in college, and it really I had a concussion, and I have a lot of like lasting chronic pain from the car accident. So like I haven't really performed theater as much as I would like to because my memory was impacted. So burlesque kind of gave me a way to perform again. Um, when I wasn't able to like remember lines and stuff. So like I do stuff like a lot of my own like written stuff and spoken stuff that I can like either use my phone to read off of, or like I'll do staged readings and stuff. But like a lot of the stuff that I did when I was younger, like I did short films and everything like that, it's hard to do now because I have some lasting memory issues and a lot of chronic pain issues. So it kind of like do what I can in the body that I have right now. So
Exactly. And yeah, I feel like we share a lot. We share quite a bit of similar path roads as well. So I find it interesting that because you said you mentioned you're a character actor, that's the same for me too. So um, and the thing with me is I really didn't start to like high school, and then then I did college shows, and um I usually had to compete with the musical people and all the others, so
mhm.
I usually just did the straight plays because the acting pool was so small, you'd be like,
Right,
"Well, I'll get something,"
right,
so,
right.
um, but,
Yeah, and that's another thing too is like for being a plus size actress, like even when I was in high school doing plays in college too, there weren't a lot of shows where, a plus size woman was the lead actor. Like I played some really cool parts, just like one of my favorite things that I did was like I played a schizophrenic homeless woman in this one play, and like I was like screaming and swearing and throwing things. Like I love that. Like just doing the, like the little bizarre off the wall characters, So I like that. Um, I always said like if I were to be a famous actress, like that was what I wanted to do before, I had my car accident and everything. But I was like,
yeah.
yeah, I would probably be like a Kathy Bates or somebody like that who's amazing,
Oh,
like,
yeah.
yeah, or somebody that's like, can play all kind of parts, but really isn't, put in that like romantic lead person, you know what I mean? Which is
Mhm.
totally fine because I'm not like a huge romance person anyhow. So, but it's interesting how like typecast you get, you know?
Right.
So,
And I feel like, I'm the same way. I like to do many different parts, and, one of my favorites is I got to play, a guy that was Middle Eastern, so I did a Middle Eastern accent, and he had all this physical comedy, and, that I really enjoyed that, but, it's hard when sometimes people just see you in that one role, and then you just get
right.
cast again and again and again, and it's like,
Hmm.
"How do I break the cycle?"
Right.
Um so, do you have any burlesque performers that you really admire?
Oh yeah, so I admire a lot of the plus size performers, and I mean just performers in general because, again, as somebody that has some like both visible and invisible disabilities, like I admire people that, can move their body well, or are also able to, move their body within like their differently ableness. Like, so there's a performer that's named Jacqueline Box. She's a wheelchair performer and amazing. One of my good friends is Lakota Shakar, who's
Okay.
also, uses a wheelchair a lot. As far as like I, powerful, strong, like plus size performers, like Diva Rose is amazing. Like, I don't know, follow these performers on Instagram and stuff, but like, again, plus size performer. I got the pleasure of meeting her. Was like 2018 because I kittened at a festival. I met all these really cool people. But I think she's from Minneapolis. but like very powerful stage presence. Katniss Everqueer is another one that I love very much. Good friend from Vermont is really awesome.
Oh, wow.
Bearcat Betty's actually coming to Pittsburgh in the middle of September to do some stuff that I have going on. So I really like her too. Yeah. So there's so many amazing performers. Also, one of my favorite people too, Egypt Black Now is an amazing performer. I've had the pleasure of meeting a bunch of times from California. She's amazing too. So any of these performers, like look them up, like you can just fan human over them. They're awesome. So yeah.
That's and um it's interesting that you've mentioned that because I've seen another disabled performer because I've watched a lot of virtual performances, especially during the COVID. She's a model and also a disabled performer. Pansy St. Batty. She does a lot of performing like in her wheelchair and virtual shows. Um, and just with some of the other shows. I don't know if you've heard of there is Burlesque and Chill, and they're in LA and they've done virtual shows. And then there's Fanny Sinclair, Fanny's Free for All, and she's done a lot of shows too.
Yeah.
So you've heard of them?
Yeah, so Fanny Sinclair,
Okay.
actually, I think you're talking to Scarlett St. Clair coming up soon,
Yeah.
and she was
Yes.
in her virtual show. I think it was last week, or
Yeah.
it's coming up, or something like that. But yeah, Scarlett's a good friend of mine too, here in Pittsburgh.
Okay.
So yeah, I
Yeah.
think there needs to be like more consistent virtual shows. I know we all kind of did that pivot during the pandemic, but even now, you know, like it's not always accessible for people to leave their house.
Right.
Maybe they're ill, maybe they're depressed, whatever, you know. So I'm actually in a really cool virtual show next Friday night. There's about a handful of performers. I've done this show now 3 times. It's called the Sacral Sessions. It's a really like empowering, healing, embodied space. If you follow, it's MYXXFLY on Instagram. They host the show. They DJ it. It's next Friday at 9 p.m. It's on Zoom, and tickets are like, I think they're a sliding scale from I think like $7 to $20. So it's a really neat space. I'm doing some spoken word on there. I'm just doing like an audio spoken piece, so I'm excited. It's one of my favorite things to like do every couple of months because it's just such a really powerful healing space. Very supportive environment.
Oh, wow. Yeah. I'm glad that you're able to have that, because my concern was, and that's part of the reason why I started doing the show, was opportunities kind of almost declined and went downhill like during the COVID, and I feel like now is the time when we really need to connect to people and like reach out and to make sure that these windows still are open and are not
Right,
shut due
right.
to any of these things. Were you impacted at all during COVID, or were you able to figure a solution out during the shutdown?
Yeah, I mean, definitely. I got laid off from my job, and then I
Oh,
started working remotely, and I've worked remotely consistently since the pandemic. And so,
wow.
being somebody that has chronic pain and works remotely, I'm still having that kind of like isolation. So, like, it's hard for me to go out of my house because of the pain is there a lot too, but also like you kind of get complacent in your little comfortable environment, right? And you're like, oh, well, it's nice here. I can rest if I don't feel good, or like, oh, peopling is so hard. Like, I went out yesterday and I'm like, I hardly ever leave my house unless it's a show. I
Mhm.
really need to leave more. Um, but yeah, so I definitely felt a lot of that isolation. And I actually started a podcast too during the pandemic. Unfortunately, I had a lot of stuff go on with me in my life last year, and I had taken it down because I was just in a really bad place. But I hope to start it back up again. But that was one thing that kept me connected to people was my podcast, you know? So I'm looking forward to getting that started up again.
Exactly, and I look forward to that. Yeah, let me know so I can share it within the group page to promote it.
Absolutely.
Um, but that's where this all started. I started doing this in May 2021. I'm
Okay.
still doing it today, so so it's a long journey, and when I meet all these people, it's like I'm trying to make sure that everybody connects and everybody has an opportunity, and like I feel like the more opportunities that are given, the more success we can be and achieve.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. I think it's really important to like have supportive communities and connections. So I love that you're doing this. I love that you're still doing it. Community is a really big part of, the different like, burlesque and podcasting and just really kind of any kind of interest thing that you have, like pinup and whatever. It's all about that community and that connection. And that we all need each other at different times, and it's hard to sometimes like reach out and say, hey, I need help, but without that community, we're all on this like little island by ourselves. And I think we were all on too many little islands during the pandemic, shut in our houses, and we forget that you know that everybody needs each other, so we all have to kind of get back into that a little bit.
And that was I felt like that was the thing. People didn't have an island, and I go, well, I have my island if anybody wants to come. And then I'm like,
Come to my island. Yeah.
yeah. And then I'm like, oh, there's a lot of you here. It's gotten much bigger and it flourished.
So
So
where are you based out of?
I'm in West Virginia. I'm country roads boy.
Okay. Your island is in West Virginia. That's not too far from Pittsburgh. We can hop onto your island. We can maybe bring you some fruit like Animal Crossing,
And the thing is I do enjoy Pittsburgh. Some of my good artist friends are up there. Um, my friend Carrie, she's an amazing artist. She does all kinds of ceramic horror stuff. Um,
Neat.
she lives up there. Actually, her and April want to talk to each other because of her jewelry hobby and everything else. So they kind of want to talk. So it's kind of like this person would never talk to this person if I wasn't somewhere in the middle. So,
Right. Yeah.
um,
And that's so nice. It's a small world, right? These connections, like, you
yeah.
just never know who you're going to meet and who you're going to get introduced to because of that other person.
Oh yeah, and it's interesting because I I've started talking to people. I talked to somebody overseas, someone in the UK, somebody from Canada. So it's kind of like it would be nice to also go global, but
Right.
it's also trying to remember what time are you? What time is it over there?
Yeah.
Oh, it's
Yeah.
2 a.m. Let's go ahead and do it. So that's my thing is always being cognitive of the time frames because I forget sometimes when I live out here in the mountains, I'm like, oh yeah, everybody else lives in a different time zone.
Right.
So,
Right.
um, now, do you have any more events planned for 2023 or?
Yeah, I do. So, I was at this event yesterday with some friends, and I was like talking about how it's going to be my 10 years of burlesque, and like how back in the day, like I always had something going on, and now I'm again getting older. I'm like pushing 50, like you would never know like by looking at me, but I have a couple more years and I'll be 50. So I'm kind of like slowly slowing down, but I I do a bunch of events during the year. I usually go like from April to October, and I do a couple events. So I have the show next week. I have the two shows. So I have the 28th, the virtual sacral sessions, and then I have the Take It Off battle. And then August, I'm performing at a night on August 3rd in Pittsburgh, and then I'm pretty much free for August. I've taken most of August off to kind of work on some things. And then the middle of September, I have 3 events one weekend. It is all part of the Loving Your Reflection, like 7th year anniversary. That's kind of where you asked me about like what is an empowerment facilitator. You were asking me that like when we were messaging each other.
Yeah.
Um, and that's been something that's really important for me. So like what I do with that is I started out like coordinating like body positive photo shoots, and it's kind of grown over the past 7 years. Like I had a fashion show, and then I'm going to start a performance collective of all plus size performers in Pittsburgh. So that's pretty exciting. That's one thing I'm working on. So the middle of September, I have that whole thing going on. We have like a plus size dance party going on at Arboretum Trail Brewing. And then on the 16th, we have the show at the community center in Pittsburgh. And then we're doing like a day full of like classes and stuff like that at Thrive on Health on Pittsburgh. So we end that on September 17th. And yeah, so it's just going to be a really cool weekend of like body positivity in Pittsburgh. I'm excited about it. And then my last show for the year, I think as of right now, is going to be October 28th. And that's Dr. Sketchy's Burlesque. I run the Pittsburgh chapter of Dr. Sketchy's anti-art school. And I do like a big show for Pride and Halloween every year. So it's this Burlesque 3. So that's what I have going on the rest of the year. So, yeah.
Wow. First of all, I thought you were maybe in your like later 30s. I didn't think you were 50s.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm
um,
46. So, yeah.
okay. I just turned 40 last March, so that was
Yeah. You
just my
don't look it
birthday.
either. So,
No, I don't. I
yeah.
normally get, well, how was school? Did you finish grad school? I'm like, it was good 20 years ago, or you know.
Right. 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 Yeah. I was in a work meeting and someone was like, I thought you were 28. I'm like, I have chubby cheeks. I'm a chubby girl. Same thing. You got the little cheekers on you too, your little dimples.
Yeah,
Like you would never know how old we are, right? Because we just got these little
yeah.
cute faces that no one would really ever know unless you said something. Yeah, I thought you were probably like 28, maybe 20, like early 30s. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, normally when I tell people they're 40, they're like, "No, you're lying." I'm like, "No, it says that on my license right there." But if you wanna think I'm
Yeah.
25, I'm gonna go with it.
Right? I mean, if someone says, "Hey, you're 28," oh yeah, I'm 28, sure. Some days I reverse that. I feel like I'm 82, but sure, or like 64, whatever. Reverse your age. But yeah,
Um, but, it's so getting off on a tangent here. But, I think you're amazing. Like I really enjoy just the conversing so far, and I think you have really amazing photos. So I really
oh,
hope you
thank
know
you.
that you're like a superstar in what everything you do. So
Oh, well, I really appreciate it. I'm excited. Speaking of photos, like I haven't done new photos in a while, and I actually
yeah,
have 2 photo shoots coming up this next weekend. Like when I have all my other events, and I'm excited about that because I love getting my picture taken. I love being able to like be seen by different photographers, and it's really interesting to see yourself through other people's lenses. And it's always different. Like every photographer captures a different side of you. So I love doing that. So
definitely. Uh, and I look forward to when you have those pictures, and I'll make sure to give it a like and everything because I know
Yeah,
it's going to be
awesome.
awesome. So,
Thanks.
um, so is there like a dream performance space that you want to go to someday? Like if the sky's the world and you can pick any place, in the world or have anything, if there's no budget, there's no this, it's like the whole deluxe package. Is there a certain place that maybe you haven't been there, you want to go?
You know what? Honestly, so I've been lucky that I've been able to like perform in New York. I've performed in San Francisco. It would be awesome to perform in like London and maybe like the Shakespeare Festival or something and like get back to my acting roots and go to like the Stratford Theater. That would be awesome. Something like that would be so great.
And don't mess with the British guards though while you're there. Don't make them break
Yeah,
character.
I would probably try because I'm a little bit silly, but you know,
You're like, I'm warming up before my act. I just need to
yeah,
know.
yeah.
But um, that's awesome. It's also a dream of mine to go to London. I want to go to London so bad. I want to go to the Eiffel Tower and like um, wear a beret and just be British for a week.
Well, that's Paris. The Eiffel Tower and wearing a
Yeah.
beret is Paris. But London, I mean, I want to go to Paris too, and London and Greece and Italy. Like, I want to go everywhere. Like, if I had an unlimited budget, I would just like travel all the time. That would be so amazing. So, yeah.
I can tell you I've been to Ireland before, so
Oh, that's another bucket list place. Did you like it?
oh my goodness. It was so funny because um I would ride this bus every day, and you had to have your bag packed so the porter would grab it and then throw it on there. Well, one night we had partied and like I forgot, so like you feel like you're in a game, like the time is clicking, like oh man, I better pack my suitcase, just sitting on it, trying to get all the shirts, and then like soon as he comes by, I just chuck it, like out the door, and like he just loads it, but looking at the castles, I got to go in this one castle and take a picture and the Blarney Stone. And then we stopped at the last stop of the Titanic.
Nice.
So looking at those things, and then like I didn't know that the food and everything would be different and different rules, like we had a buffet there and you could only go through the line one time. So people didn't know and they didn't like load up.
Fine.
So since I was the last person, like everybody loaded up on me, and it's like I was eating for like winter or something. I'm like I'll have five
Yeah,
steaks, three baked potatoes, just trying to shuffle on through because my cousin tried to come back and they said you couldn't come back. So they're like, Dan, I'm like, Jesus, everyone stop texting me what you need, and it's just like this whole thing on trying to not like drop it, and just put the food down and like I went to a club one night and they played Irish music and Michael Jackson at the same time. It was like you went in one door, it was Irish. You went to the other door, it was Thriller. I go, this is the weirdest remix I've ever heard. I don't know about, 40 Shades of Green and then Michael Jackson saying Thriller. Like it makes me question all the green shades out here.
that's hilarious. Yeah.
It was. I'll definitely have to when we're done, I'll have to tell you about the story about my cousin hanging out with some of the Manchester United soccer fans
Oh,
because they
that's
were all
cool.
like excited about it. Yeah, they were all loving Manchester United. They were wearing like the same t-shirt, so I found it like hilarious. And like the one guy, he's like, "You like Manchester? I like Manchester." I'm like, "I don't have a Manchester shirt," and like they
Yeah.
wanted them to do like some kind of drink, and I was kind of like, I don't think you should do it. It's pretty strong. You're gonna fall down, dude. And like he's like, you gotta
Yeah.
do it. And like so we did that, and then they also had street performers. So when I'm walking out, there was like someone who was a street performing angel. So I'm thinking I'm seeing like, and I was like, what did I have? Like seeing like this angel appeared out of nowhere, and I forgot that it
Did
had been a
someone
street
spike your
performer.
drink? Yeah.
Yeah, I'm like, what was in there, and like
Yeah.
it was uh it was weird, and it was also cool at the same time. And then like we took a horse carriage ride around Killarney. We went all the way around like the whole countryside, and like it was so nice to like be in that, see a castle in the distance, and like I'm glad our guy spoke English, so I knew what he was talking about, the guy behind me, whatever language he came up with, none of my family knew what he was talking about, but just having that, and then I got a pocket watch from there, just having all those memories. And my grandma was from like Ireland. She had the name
Okay.
O'Brien,
Okay.
very Irish name. And she actually had a friend over in Ireland, so they got together and had tea together, like they actually met together and like had a little, kind of like little brunch thing, and they actually got to have like a tea party, so like I thought that was cool in their age of 80, having a tea
Aw.
party, there. So it was a lot of fun. It's an experience of a lifetime, and I do recommend anybody who ever wants to go, even though it is quite pricey in the dinero
Yeah.
range. Um, but anything else you want to say to wrap up on Dan-A-Plooza today?
Well, I just wanted to invite you too. Like, I know, West Virginia is not that far from Pittsburgh. So if you ever want to come up, see a show, let me know.
Okay.
Definitely happy to coordinate with some of the performers that you've interviewed and stuff. It would be nice to like have you in person since you've, had all of us on, on your show. So if you ever, how far are you from Pittsburgh?
Maybe about an hour and 45 minutes.
Oh yeah. So yeah, if you ever want to come up sometime, if you're ever up here and we have something going on, definitely let us know and we'll be happy to, coordinate something for you. That would be fun.
Okay. And maybe I don't know if you have anything ever in March, because I usually go to that convention in the Horror Realm one. It's in Pittsburgh. It's like below Pittsburgh, and like it's
Yeah.
usually on my birthday weekend. It's like
What's your
March
birthday?
4th.
Okay,
March
so
4th.
are you Pisces? Are you Aries?
Pisces.
Me too.
Pisces.
I'm the 17th. So yeah, maybe you can come visit us in March because I didn't get a chance to this year, but a lot of years I throw myself a birthday show. And it's usually like either like my birthday weekend or like maybe the weekend after. So yeah, maybe next year I'll have a birthday show and you can come up for St. Patrick's Day.
Yep. So I'm going to go ahead and wrap it up, and I'll go
All
ahead
right.
and end this show. Thank you for being my guest. We'll talk a little bit after when I end this, and
Yeah.
thank you, and everyone stay tuned. Dan-A-Plooza will be back Friday, July 28th. We're looking at a 3-star lineup. We'll have Jinx DeVille, Claire, and we will have filmmaker Jay Crimson. So everyone stay tuned.